What famous person did you regret meeting because they were an ass? Wayne Brady screamed at my sister for taking his picture in Vegas. She wasn't taking his picture. He walked into the shot. He freaked out screaming that he wanted her to show him that she was deleting it. She was trying to explain she didn't even know he was there and showed him the picture that only had a sliver of him in it when she looked through the shots. He continued to berate her about not respecting his privacy. In the middle of the strip, she was in tears apologizing for doing nothing wrong, and he never acknowledged he was in the wrong and continued to badmouth her as he stormed away. Can't watch him anymore. I met Patrick Ewing at the Newark airport when the Knicks were peak 90s challenging the Bulls for the East every year. OMG, it's one of my heroes. 9-year-old me goes to approach and ask for an autograph, to which he replied, "Get away from me, kid. Fucking heartbroken, lol." I met Ewing as a kid too in the 90s and he blew me off, totally ignored me. He was also absolutely gigantic. Couldn't believe how tall he seemed to me at the time. Shoulda have butted him in the sack. Would've looked great on that front page. I know this won't come as a surprise, but Steven Seagal used to frequent a restaurant I worked at. Dude was a colossal piece of shit. He just treated his very wonderful family like shit, and it was obvious he was cheating on his wonderful wife with the Asian nanny. This fucking moron would come into a 10-table restaurant, all 6'5" and 300 pounds of him, wearing a gold kimono in the South, and would wonder why people were looking at him. So he made us take the entry partition down and put it around his table. He was an absolute trash human being. Also met Peyton Manning one time right after the Super Bowl he lost to the Saints. Who dat? This was at ultra high-end golf course and we were not allowed to act like we recognized celebrities, which was more awkward than anything. Anyways, he walked up and ordered a beer and introduced himself, but I was already turning to get the beer as he stuck his hand out to shake my hand and tell me who he was. As if I didn't know Peyton Manning was in the grounds when I saw his forehead pull into the parking lot. So I blew off Peyton Manning for a handshake. How many of you losers can say that? Great fucking guy though. Met Tiger Woods when I was 15. He slapped my hat out of my hand. A different golfer whom I didn't know ran up, picked up my hat and asked if his signature would be okay. I agreed, but I don't know who he was or what his name was, but my grandpa was pleased upon seeing it. Bro, he did this to me at the Hong Kong Open too. I heard he did it to his wife at the altar. No wait, that was later. I haven't met a rude celeb yet, but Stan Lee's security at Calgary Comic-Con a few years back was fucking brutal. The guy acted like he was a fucking mercenary. Stan Lee would sit in a chair and you'd come stand next to him for your photo op, and Stan let me be pretty well arm to arm close, and his security guard yelled at me and asked Stan if he authorized me to be that close. Even the photographer looked at the security guy like he was crazy lol. But at the same Comic-Con, meeting Norman Reedus, Stephen Yeun and Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger, was amazing. They're all super awesome and tried to have a legitimate conversation with you. Steve Yeun even complimented my glasses lol. 10/10ths best con for me. Didn't happen to me, but I had a physics teacher in high school who sat next to Bill Nye on a plane once. Apparently he was super unpleasant to be around. This is the 6th or 7th entry for Nye. Yeah, it's not just this thread but every thread about celebrity encounters. I've seen maybe 2 decent ones of Bill Nye, but like 100 people mention he's just a complete asshole. This dude gets around or makes such a bad impression that everyone who has met him on Reddit feels compelled to share. Yeah, and Redditors are supposed to love Bill Nye. He's the science guy. He's a liberal atheist. Like, you have to be an asshole if Redditors hate you and you have all that. I've only met Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future at Universal Studios. It was the end of the day and the park was closing. We were right near the exit and he was just walking through the park to get to one of the sets. I ran up to him. I was 14 at the time. I asked if he was going back to the future. It was also the last ride we were just on, and he's obviously heard that line a million times, but he was so nice about it. Got a photo. He said have a great night and thank you. Never been more happy. The Pawn Stars were completely uninterested in anyone when very mechanically signing autographs at a local business convention. I can't say they were rude as much as barely even there. Best was Rob Zombie. Meet him at a book signing for the Lords of Salem at the local Barnes & Noble, and he was awesome, super chill and friendly. I have moderate Asperger's and really freeze up in large crowds, so I was really nervous, but he was literally as sweet as could be and went out of his way to get a picture with me and fist bump me. Fun fact: the crew are telling the line the entire time he will only sign the book and nothing else, and don't bother him, but he said screw that and was signing everything people brought for no charge except the $20 for the book. He was friendly with young kids to old people, didn't matter. I was the ass. I saw Don Cheadle at an airport and was thinking about Ocean's 11 and said to my friend, dude, it's Bernie Mac, and he looked back and said, no, I'm the other black guy from Ocean's 11, but at least you like the movie. David Cross is pretty miserable. He's from Atlanta and his sister runs a food truck in town. Her recipes were all named after David Cross. Arrested Development type stuff. So my wife and I, being fans of David, asked about it and she told us she was his sister. So for months we chat her up anytime we order food from her truck. And eventually David's in town. She invites us to come to the food truck park to meet him. So we bring a poster from the early 2000s and are super pumped to meet him. We get there and she's very anxious and hesitant to introduce us. Weird, but okay. No. It's okay, I'll introduce you. She doesn't. He was incredibly dismissive and unpleasant. Never heard of anyone having a good interaction with him. Best interaction was with Conan O'Brien. He's a total class act. Chatted him up in a bathroom line of all places and said my wife and I were huge fans. He said we should come by the table to chat. I told him we didn't want to interrupt his dinner, but he insisted, then asked if we wanted pictures, and was super cool. I have the perfect combination of bad star, good star. It was at Dragon Con, maybe 2005. I'm going through the big autograph room, waiting to get David Carradine's autograph. He looked so mad, he didn't say a word as I told him how much I enjoyed his work. Okay, I get it, maybe he was having a bad day. Next to Mr. Carradine was Mark Singer, star of Beastmaster, V, etc. Mr. Singer is smiling, talking to people as they go by. He looks genuinely happy to be there. Suddenly, a woman behind me stumbled and dropped a huge stack of materials she wanted autographed. Mr. Carradine looked down on her like she was a bug. Mark Singer jumped over his table and started helping the woman pick up her things. Didn't hesitate one moment, just started helping. That's when I decided that if I ever became famous, I was going to try to be like Mark Singer, not David Carradine. My dad has been a radio personality for over 30 years and worked in country music for over half of it. He gets to meet celebrities semi-regularly. Apparently Keith Urban was really nice. Carrie Underwood was kind of mediocre BC. He caught her right after her performance and she was tired. But Kenny Chesney puts the D in D-bag. Direct quote from my dad. Kenny promised to sign some pictures, shirts, etc. for a couple of kids who won a game through the radio. Kenny instead took a bunch of groupies into one of the back rooms of the radio station with a bottle of whiskey and locked the door. When my dad tried to get him to open the door and fulfill his end of the deal, he called the cops on my dad, and he was lucky enough to get a cop who was a good acquaintance. Cops said there wasn't much he could do other than make Kenny leave, so that's what he did. Kids never got their stuff signed, so my dad gave them some coupons for free pizza. He said that after a few years other radio hosts told him they had similar encounters. Me and my sister saw Alec Baldwin, Tina Fey, and Salma Hayek on the street when we were eating lunch. They were just coming out of a car, about to go into some building next to us. We had no idea why they were together, but in retrospect it was definitely because they were filming 30 Rock together. My sister said, "Oh my God, is that Tina Fey?" And Alec Baldwin turned around and went right in her face and said, "Don't fucking say that, don't speak to us, why would you say something like that? You can't speak to us, not now." But it didn't really end there. He yelled again at us outside his building, saying, "Don't look over here, turn around and eat your food, fuck off. He sounded genuinely furious at us, almost like he wanted us to yell back and start something with him. Honestly, my sister was on the verge of tears. It was horribly embarrassing. Everybody knows now that Alec Baldwin has a history of screaming at people, but at the time we had no idea. Don't get me wrong, my sister shouldn't have yelled at Tina Fey like that, but the way Alec snapped was straight up scary, like he was about to physically hurt her. Salma Hayek and some other lady who I didn't recognize came over and apologized to us. She asked if we wanted her to go and get Tina and get her autograph because apparently Tina felt bad too, but we said number. She then talked to us about the food we were eating, which was Mexican food, and we ended up having a brief conversation about NY's lack of quality Mexican food. She was incredibly charismatic and sweet. Bobby Flay. We paid hundreds of dollars to go to a fancy event he was participating in, waited for a long-ass time to just meet him and say hi. He looked at us and walked away, was a dick about it too. Ugh. Whenever I'm watching a Chopped with Bobby Flay as a judge, all I can think is fuck Bobby Flay. I always said I'd never watch Beat Bobby Flay unless the complete title were ... with a tire iron. Burden said Beat Bobby Flay sounds fun until you realize it's a cooking show. God rest him. Bill Nye the Science Guy. I was on a field trip in middle school and our teacher saw him. She politely asked if he could say something to us or just say hi. We always watched him in science class. He told her to fuck off and basically berated her for bothering him and asking him to speak to a bunch of kids. I'm not sure if he was just having a bad day, but it was not the best experience as a child. Reggie Jackson. He was a childhood idol of mine. I got the opportunity to get a photo with him at some booth at a trade show called Internet World years ago during the .com boom. No one was in line to get pictures with him, so I walked up to get a photo while he was apparently trying to get the girls in the next booth over to sleep with him. He acted all bugged that I asked for a photo, even though that is what he was hired for, and rolled his eyes. I guess he thought I cock-blocked him by just showing up in line to get a picture. I tossed the picture in the trash once I got it. Later that day I got the ball signed by Steve Garvey, who was super nice. He replaced Reggie Jackson as my hero that night. Prince Andrew. Spent a lot of time around him about 10 years ago, as working at private social events he attended. The guy is a total prick. Maybe he would have been nicer to you if you were younger. That's legitimately funny. This is perfect timing in our house. My wife's side of the family is British, and with that whole Oprah interview they're all rowdy right now. Like rowdy in support of Meghan and Harry, or rowdy in support of the firm? Jared Leto. I worshipped him as a teenager, mainly from seeing him in Requiem for a Dream and My So-Called Life and his band, but he was the most pretentious and arrogant person in real life. Never meet your heroes. I've heard that so often. The way he talks on a lot of news shows never really sat right with me. Then he became a cult leader and I noped out. I met Shane Dawson at a restaurant I used to work at. He used to come in a few times a year with his fiancée and in-laws. He's a dicklol. None of my servers liked him or wanted to serve his family, and I damn near had to fight some little girls off the property because they would not leave without seeing him. Ace Frehley of Kiss. It was at a rock and roll /TV movie memorabilia convention in the mid-90s, shortly before the Kiss reunion, and he clearly didn't wanna be there. He didn't talk to fans, didn't say hi, hell, he didn't even look at you when you came to his table. He just signed whatever you placed in front of him and then you were hustled away. On the other hand, Adam Batman West was at the next signing table and he was a totally cool guy. Shook hands, chatted with everyone, signed whatever we wanted, posed for pics, etc. Meeting him more than made up for Ace's surly, hungover douchebaggery. I sat next to Rosario Dawson on a flight from LA to Austin while she was shooting Death Proof. I didn't recognize her and she kept trying to strike up conversation while I was studying for a Cal 2 final. I was an asshole to her until it came out that she was Rosario Dawson. Then we had a very pleasant conversation. I regret meeting her because I'm the ass. Met Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood when they were filming near Austin. I was waiting tables. Costner was a jerk. Eastwood was amazing, and a caricature of himself. He's huge, huge hands. The lines in his face are deeper than you think they are, but he was so polite and gentlemanly and gracious. Edit, yes, on A Perfect World, it was actually a golf club where I was head waiter. Them being there caused quite a ruckus. I went so far as to stash them in a private dining room so they could eat in peace. Clint was very apologetic about the whole thing, profusely thanking me, etc. Kevin never even looked me in the eye, just said, "I'll have the whatever it was he asked for," and that was it. Edit 2, copied from my reply to another reply. That's partly it, but he did do some stuff that waiters hate, like shaking his glass for a refill, with attitude, stuff like that, especially in a situation where I gave them their own space and no competition for my service. I said this in another comment. Everyone is allowed shitty days, but the question posed was who did I regret meeting because they were an ass, so this was my answer. Used to work at this hotel in San Diego around 2015. The bellman was a Mexican man, nicest guy and the oldest from the staff, worked there since the 70s, as a young bellhop. He told me in the old days, Elizabeth Taylor would frequently stay there, and she would always ask for this suite facing the ocean. What she asked, she got. He was awestruck when he first saw her and mentioned in his broken English that she was beautiful. Apparently, she was so offended that she reported him to the general manager. The GM just told him to please not talk to her anymore. Kim Thiel, guitarist for Soundgarden. I was an 18-year-old kid with a Soundgarden concert tee on, backstage of the New Orleans leg of the 1996 Lollapalooza tour. From stage right of the second stage, we were watching the same band, Sponge, and I look over to see Kim Thiel, Ben Shepherd standing a few feet away. I walked over and said, "Hi Kim and Ben, I bought all your albums, I'm a huge fan." I put my hand out for a shake and Ben completely ignored me, but Kim patronizingly looked me up and down and looked away without acknowledging my existence. I was kinda crushed. I heard someone laughing hysterically at me and I turned to look, and it's Butzer from the Melvins. He was sitting under a tent and he motioned me over. He asked me what I said to him, and I quoted it word by word. He thought what happened was completely fucked up, and introduced me to the entire band and crew. They offered me food and water and to hang out with them as long as I wanted that day. I haven't missed the Melvins show within 50 miles of me since. Billy Ray Cyrus was the most professional music artist I got to work with on a music video set. Our director was a complete ass, but Billy didn't pay any attention. Was just, "You got it, man, whatever I can do to help." I grew up in Key West and have seen lots of celebs there. My least favorite is definitely Jimmy Buffett. Not at all the chill dude you would think him to be. It's now a running joke for my wife to say something along the lines of, "Oh, hey, it's your favorite song," whenever she hears one of his songs playing. Flip side, Hulk Hogan was one of my faves. Super nice and personable, didn't mind taking time to talk to randos, and was also wearing a shirt that said, "It's not a bald spot, it's a solar panel for a sex machine, lol." I haven't had any asshole celebs interactions, but John Malkovich and Cloven both came through my place of work about a decade ago, and both were super chill. Cloven got recognized by a few people and stood there and took photos, signed shit, and small talked with whoever approached him, even though he showed up alone and in glasses and clearly hanging by himself and trying to chill. John Malkovich was dressed in all white and had a shaved head, looked kinda like a monk or something, and was very calm and low-key. Jeff Goldblum is genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. I assisted on a photo shoot with him and he remembered my name the entire time, and as the night ended he thanked me for helping. Got a great photo with him too. If you ever meet him, talk to him about his music, he lights up. Björk was very sweet, albeit shy and wary of me at first. Super smiley though, and took the initiative to shake my hand. I am friends with a few of the musicians who played with her on a recent tour. Kevin Bacon was great in our short interaction as well. I sat next to Christian Bale on a flight to Central America once. There had to have been a mistake in the seating, since his family was in front of him and right across the aisle, but he didn't say anything and neither did I. I was so stunned at first that I was completely silent and didn't say anything, but once we took off I realized that was the best play I could have made. About another half hour into the flight I mustered up the courage to chat with him and make it seem like I didn't know who he was. It was pretty cool. We just talked like a couple of dudes about surfing spots where we were going and general stuff about life in LA and whatnot. I know this isn't a story for this post, but I've always wanted to share it. I like to think that sometimes he thinks about me as the one non-friend / non-family member who he interacted with like a normal person. Little did he know he's my favorite actor and I've looked up to him since I was a middle schooler. I'm hoping I see him by chance again one day and remind him of the stories we shared. Not really met as such, but I literally walked straight into Jason Statham when I was on holidays in Europe. I was looking the other way and walked straight into him. He was apologetic and obviously so was I, but I didn't actually know it was him until we sort of bumped and stumbled away from each other and looked back. In hindsight I should have asked him for an autograph because I had a map in my hand. Jim Butcher, love his books. Met him at a con to try and get a signing of a book I kept on me while deployed and took with me on several ops. I approach the dude and wait 10 minutes while he's flirting with some girl. He asks her to step to the side and keeps talking to her while holding his hand out for the book I was holding, signs it, hands it back and never looks at me. I'm still pissed about it. My uncle approached a man that looked exactly like Jerry Seinfeld in the streets of New York in the late 90s and said, "Are you Jerry Seinfeld?" And he said, "No, I get that a lot." And then as he was walking away, two young women walked up and said, "Are you Jerry Seinfeld?" And he said, "Yes, I am. Would you like a picture?" Could have just been a Dutch who was using his likeness of Seinfeld to get laid. Also could have been Seinfeld.